Hello, everybody. Jonathan Poley here with West Coast Weather. Today is November 12th, and today we're going to take a look at this frontal system that's moving through Washington, Oregon, Southwest BC right now. And then we're going to take a look at this storm and trough that's going to start moving down the West Coast and start affecting California with some possible heavy precipitation in some localized areas and maybe some breezy winds. And then we're going to take a look at the extended forecast because a lot of the models are showing a potential major storm that hits somewhere along the West Coast, anywhere from BC down to Northern California. There's very low confidence in any single solution right now, but we'll take a look at the possibilities. So if you enjoyed this video and like all the other videos I do, just please hit that subscribe button down below and like this video. Also, it helps get the video out to more people. It helps the YouTube algorithm just grab hold of this video. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now we're looking at the trough and ridge positions. This is the GFS model. Here's Alaska, here's BC, Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii somewhere over here. As we scroll this through, you can see this weaker part of the trough starting to hit the Pacific Northwest today and tomorrow, bringing a weak frontal system in the area with some breezy winds and rain. But then this deeper trough starts digging out over right off the coast. And this is a kind of a tough forecast. A lot of forecasters in California are having a tough time with this storm because it's just enough far away from California to not have too much of an effect, but it's also right on that line that brings some pretty big impacts for California standards, with maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain for some of the coastal and low-lying areas of California, which is pretty substantial. And as we play this out, you can see the storm just sits there right off the coast before finally weakening and going inwards to inland around next weekend. So it's going to be flinging some rain and some active weather for quite a while. And then you can see another weak system kind of moving through around next Sunday, Saturday. Still a lot of time to look at this. And if we play this back, you can also see a pretty large ridge forms over the Pacific Northwest and BC this week, bringing some nicer weather before the storms start coming back into the area. And keep a close eye on this trough right here around the 20th of November and the 19th. This storm has been showing up on models and bringing a big storm to some place over the West Coast. The GFS has been bringing it farther north, but some of the GFS runs have actually been bringing it down towards Washington as well. So we really need to keep an eye on that. Anything beyond that is really fantasy at this point. So now let's take a look at the European model. Good agreement in the short-term, weak system moving into the Pacific Northwest and BC. California storm setting up. We'll take a closer look at that. Another weak system possible maybe around Wednesday, but really not going to do that much for the Pacific Northwest. Ridge builds over the area around mid to late week, around Thursday towards Saturday. Then our next system moves through around Sunday. On the European model, it really remains over. But watch this. This is coming from the same trough that I was telling you to look at, but instead of having that big trough go up towards Alaska and northern British Columbia, look at what the European model does. Bam, this storm strengthens right on top of the Pacific Northwest, bringing a big windstorm and lots of heavy snow to the mountains, even the lowlands. Opens this trough over the West Coast, bringing continued powerful systems through the area. So this would be a 1, 2, 3 hit to the Pacific Northwest, bringing snow, heavy winds, heavy rain, all sorts of crazy wild weather. This is only one model, but a lot of other models have also been hinting at this. So we're going to have to keep a close look at this as we go out. This is still 7 to 9 days away, so it's still in that fantasy forecast range. But we're getting some substantial agreement in some of the models, which is kind of surprising this far out, that's why this has piqued my attention. And the chance for some cold air to filter into the region after this storm is also increasing. So let's take a closer look at this with the pressure map. This is the mean sea level pressure. You can see the weak storm coming in today and tomorrow to the Pacific Northwest. Then the California storm meanders off their coast, bringing some rain and gusty winds to parts of the coastline down there. That finally moves through And this is the GFS, by the way. And you can see the ridge kind of built in through next weekend on the GFS. But you see the storm up in the top at the top right corner. It goes a lot farther north. But now let's take a closer look at this on the European model. Weak system today and tomorrow for the Pacific Northwest. Storm off the California coast, weakening and gliding in by next weekend. You can see the European model brings that first storm system a little sooner as well and more potent than the GFS. That kind of weakens, but watch this right here. This is that trough, the storm system that I was telling you guys to look at. Watch this. Bam, right there, a 972 millibar low right over Portland. This would bring hurricane force wind gusts to the coastal areas. Cold air would start filtering out of the north after the storm moves through. Arctic air starting to move down. One of the craziest European model runs I've ever seen for around here. And this is only one model, by the way, so this is just something fun to look at for right now. And then it brings another strong storm right after that, bringing more snow and strong winds. And then in another relatively strong storm system, also with more snow and maybe some gusty winds with that. So it's quite the active weather on this European model run. It may not get quite that active, but some sort of impactful system is starting to look more likely starting next week. So now let's take a look at the 24-hour precipitation. This is kind of showing us when the precipitation will arrive. So you can see by tomorrow morning, maybe a half an inch in Seattle, maybe 1 to 2 inches in some of the higher elevations in BC. In Washington, Oregon, some of the coastal ranges may be getting that same amount in Oregon. And then you can see the storm system off the California coast almost flinging sort of an atmospheric river thing, but it's right on that cusp of not bringing a super impactful system. But you can see the European model brings plenty of rain to some of the coastal areas and central valleys of California. Look at this, like some of the coastal ranges now down near Los Angeles getting up near 2 to 3 inches of rain. That would be maybe even some flash flooding concerns. But it is very beneficial after the last 3 years of drought. They are definitely doing very well with their water. And then you can see the powerful storm system moving in later next week. But we'll continue to look at that as we go through this week and into the next weekend, and then the next powerful systems after that, according to the European model. So now let's look at the total precipitation on the European model. So you can see by Tuesday evening, it looks like the Pacific Northwest, the lowlands expect maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Higher elevations up to 1 inch, maybe Southwest BC getting up towards 1 to 2 inches, maybe up towards 3 inches for some localized places on Vancouver Island in the south coast of BC. Same amounts for the Oregon coast. Then you can see as the storm system moves through California this week, you can see, look at the Bay Area maybe getting up towards a 1 to 1.5 inches, inch and a half around Los Angeles. So a pretty impactful storm system for California standards. And if we go through that next strong system that the European model starts showing more heavy precipitation with that. And so as this is the 10-meter wind gust, so you can see that frontal system kind of moving in tonight, bringing maybe some breezy conditions to the northwest interior. Some of the higher resolution models are bringing some gusts up to 40, maybe 45 miles per hour for San Juan Island, Whidbey Island, and Whatcom County. That kind of moves out of the area. And then you can see the strong storm system off the coast. You can see why if this storm was like 100 miles more east, some of these gustier winds and stronger rains would start impacting the California coast, but it's right there where it's not going to bring as much impacts as some of the models were showing a few days ago. Maybe some gusts towards 40 on the coastlines later this week. Storm system weakens and then moves out of the area. But as we take a closer look at on the European model, this is that storm system that moves in. This is just for fun to look at for right now. You can see, look at this, bring like some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds to parts of Oregon. Strong northwest winds down through western Washington, bringing some cold air in with that as well. Very dynamic storm system for the area. But it is November, and November is known for the storms around here. So it wouldn't be too out of the ordinary to get a pretty good storm. But some of these storm magnitudes on these models are more than are beyond unusual for this area. Maybe 1 in 10 year events. But there's still plenty of time to look at that. But before we go into more detail about that fantasy windstorm, let's take a look at some of the precipitation totals that California may expect with the storm coming up. You can see at Sacramento International Airport, the European ensemble has almost up towards about an inch of rain, maybe up towards an inch and a half by this weekend. So definitely impactful storm system. But you can see the chaotic nature of the precipitation. The models are just kind of all over the place, even though this is supposed to start up in the next day or two. So even though it's only a few days away, the models are still disagreeing so much because that storm system is so close to being a very impactful storm, or not as impactful. As we go a little farther south towards San Francisco International Airport, you can see maybe a little higher precipitation amounts, around 1.5 inches possible by next weekend. More storms possible after that. And this is the Los Angeles International Airport, maybe up towards an inch to an inch and a half for even Los Angeles. So yeah, a lot of rain for down there. And this is also, I don't know, I accidentally duplicated this by accident, but oh well. So now let's take a look at where that fantasy windstorm is kind of coming from. So this is this is precipitable water. So basically how much moisture is in the atmosphere. It's another way for measuring that. Keep a look down near the dateline. This is Hawaii, this is Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California. And then this is over Russia over here. So keep a look down near the dateline where this kind of yellows and reds are kind of going a little further north. As we play this through, this kind of generates a lot of the storm system going the Alaska. But as we go through towards the November 19th, 18th range, look at this big slug of moisture that's coming from the subtropics. And watch as this moves towards and splits off from the main flow and comes right towards Washington, Oregon. Boom, there you go. A big, you can see it right here on the precipitable water. Big storm system right here slamming into Oregon and Washington. So very interesting. We can kind of see where it's coming from, and it makes sense. More when the storm has more moisture to work with, it typically has more energy and usually tends to be stronger, especially if it's from the tropics. But it also can make the forecast difficult because storm systems that originate in the tropics are kind of hard to forecast because there's a lot of variables that we have to deal with. So now let's take another look at this. So this is the mean sea level pressure. This is about tomorrow. And you see nothing really where that moisture is, but watch as we play through. There's a storm system off of California. Here's Alaska again up here. Storm system going into British Columbia and Washington, Oregon later this weekend. Then you can see the storm system that almost like a Kona low. This is what these cutoff low pressure systems near Hawaii are called. So it may bring some active weather to Hawaii next weekend as well, into early next week. And as you can see, look at this little piece that pinches off from the main system, and watch as it glides towards Washington, Oregon. There you go. Boom. 972 millibar low that we were taking a closer look at a little bit ago. And you can see where that comes from. It comes from that moisture that's right over Hawaii. So you can see what's kind of fueling that storm. As we go through, you can see that powerful Arctic high that really sets up shop over the Canada and Alaska, bringing a lot of cold air in the region. And then another powerful storm that also looks like that also originates from that moisture as well. So you can see a lot of our stronger storm systems that happen around here originate from tropical origins and such. The historical Columbus Day storm actually originated from a typhoon off in the West Pacific. So it kind of shows how connected we are to other places on this earth. So now let's look at, this is the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center. This is their experimental wind product for risk of high winds. And they're even highlighting that slight chance of some high winds during the 18th through the 20th timeframe. So it's not just the models and me seeing this. The National Weather Service is also pointing at this as well. And so we also take out the risk of heavy precipitation. You can see this is also over Western Washington, Oregon, and parts of Northern California. So now let's take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This is for November 17th through 21st. So this is kind of the time frame for that storm as well. Generally right around above average temperatures, maybe around normal. As we go down the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook for the same time, near normal to above average precipitation. This may get bumped up as some of the more models come out. So we'll keep an eye on that. And if we look a little farther out, the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, this is November 20th to 26th. This is during or slightly after, a bit after that storm system that models are showing. You can see that they're also showing that colder air moving down after that storm potentially. And the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook right around normal or above normal for much of the West Coast after that storm moves through. So yes, a lot of active weather to look at as we go through the coming weeks. So that's it for this video. I hope everybody found this enjoyable and informative. Here's our storm system moving into Washington, Oregon right now. Here's the cold trough that's going to set up shop off the California coast, bringing some active weather to California. I'm going to keep my eye very close on that fantasy windstorm that some of a lot of the models are showing potentially for next week and into early next week. But we have plenty of time to look at that. So I'll do a video this coming Friday to go over the potential for that windstorm. If it is, the windstorm is actually still showing up on models, but we still have a lot of time to look at that. So if you enjoyed this video and enjoy my other videos, just please hit that like button, subscribe button down below, and also hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any of the new videos I post. So I'm going to sign off. Take care. God bless and have a wonderful week.